This video is brought to you by my patrons, my thoughts and opinions, and the person who requested this video. And you better be watching because these videos never do well. Hi, and welcome to, or back to, my channel where I talk about whatever catches my attention. I'm Kit, and on May 27th, 2025, Amir Odom published the video, Why Some People Are For and Against Abortion, with the thumbnail simply titled, Abortion. And at the end of it, he did request people tell them their opinions, so I'm unabashedly, unequivocally pro-choice. It's none of my business what people, especially strangers, do. The only person I can control is myself. And it's really not as complicated as Amir seems to think. Though conservatives like to deny this, abortion is healthcare, and making doctors jump through hoops to provide healthcare to their patients is, well, it's just flat out stupid and dangerous. Politicians, like health insurance companies, are not doctors and have no idea what's best for a patient. They just know what's best for their bottom line. As for the difference between an abortion and, let's say, getting into a car accident where a fetus is killed, I'm a bit baffled that he apparently can't figure out the difference between a medical procedure and someone driving irresponsibly, which is a danger to everyone on the road. But anyway, that's it. I'm pro-choice no matter the circumstances. It's not my place to tell someone else what's best for their life, their body, or their family. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much. I'm just kidding. We should probably go through and, well, he says some things. I think Amir might believe himself to be some sort of intellectual.
There are people that support abortions, there are people that are against abortions, and then there's people like me, admittedly just flustered and confused about this topic because of the many nuances and context that goes into the different use cases of getting an abortion.
So far as I'm aware, Amir Odom is a cisgender man who is married to a cisgender man, and as such, will never have to worry about becoming pregnant or getting someone else pregnant. Anyway, Amir was very pro-choice, then very pro-life, and now he's somewhere in between because of all the different perspectives. He says we're going to be discussing pro-life, pro-choice, miscarriages, religion, and science, though now that I think about it, I don't remember the science part, and I was left with a distinctly pro-birth impression. Probably because of all the times he says abortion is killing babies. But anyway, Amir's first TikTok is of a woman who was raped as a child by her stepfather.
In the case of what happened to this young lady, that is sad, and that's a part of me that is more on the pro-choice side of things, because on one end I don't see how anybody can just like say, yeah, you 12-year-old little girl, you're going to go full term and have this baby and you're going to be a mother to your parents' child and force that on them. That one's a little wild to me. And I know for some people that rape and incest are some use cases that they find permissible and that it's okay to get an abortion, while some people are like, no, you're gonna have to make that baby come to full term because a life is a life. But I think there's a lot of nuance in this example, because how do you force a 12-year-old girl to go full term after getting abused by their own father? What?
I remember when exceptions were the big talking point for Republicans, and it never made sense to me because if you're concerned about a fetus, why would you quibble about how it came to be? Isn't a life regardless? So I am glad that they've more or less given that up, and also, exceptions aren't really a thing. How many rape kits have gone untested in the US? How long would it take for the case to go to trial, and then how long for a verdict? If there is reasonable belief that the crime was committed, but not enough to convict, does that mean an abortion wouldn't be allowed? And this isn't even going into like, how sick is sick enough to have an abortion? So basically, exceptions just bring up more questions than answers, and in the meantime, life is in limbo. And waiting to get an abortion actually isn't preferable. It gets more involved and more expensive the more time passes, which is why something Amir says later on is so incredibly stupid. I'm sure you'll never guess what it is. But we're not to that yet. First, let's talk about Trump.
I will say Trump, even himself, he has said in the cases of rape and incest, he's fine with abortion.
But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
So that one's a little tricky, and that was very wild during this election season, all the lies that were out there. But Trump really did want to give the states back the power regarding abortion. And Trump did say that, you know, in the terms of rape and incest, he was in favor of allowing it.
I don't know how people keep getting fooled into thinking that Trump has any beliefs beyond what serves him in the moment, but anyway, Trump credits himself as the pro-life president, and that is why people are entirely right to blame this on him. Roe wouldn't have been overturned, it wouldn't have been sent back to the states if he hadn't appointed those 3 so-called justices. And he's proud of this. He doesn't need Amir Odom to try and run interference for him.
But off the bat, that one example, this abuse example, is one that I definitely lean more on the pro-choice side of things, and I understand why. But even saying that cringes me out personally, because you're still ending a life.
Why is he more concerned about an abortion than about the 12-year-old girl that was forced into that situation? I know his video is about abortion, but it's still weird to me that that's what's making him cringe, not that she was raped by her stepfather in the first place. But honestly, this man is just too easily confused.
And I feel like I always default to this, and this is what gets things very dicey for me as we go throughout this video. But you can have a woman 7 months pregnant saying, okay, nope, I want to get rid of this thing now. I'm not going through with it. Be on her way driving to get an abortion, which is expelling the baby, like killing the baby. Like, she wants to get rid of it, right? On her way to do that, but then get T-boned by a drunk driver, and that drunk driver and die, and that drunk driver would get charged for double homicide. The law, and I feel like society in a whole, isn't even clear itself on what they determine a life to be. And off the bat, that's where all this debate and confusion comes from, because like, how is it okay for this woman to go to the doctor's office and get rid of it and just throw the baby in the trash, but then if someone kills her, it's double homicide because it's two people? Because when you go up to a pregnant woman, people ask, how's the baby doing? How are you feeling? What are the symptoms like? Because they know it's a being in there. There's an actual human being in there. And some people say, oh, it's just a clump of cells. But like Bill Burr says, you know, you make cake batter, you fully know, we all know, you put cake batter in the oven and that oven's on, it's going to turn into a cake. If you leave a pregnant woman alone, a baby's coming out.
Amir seems to be confused by how some people can want to be pregnant and call their fetus a baby, and some people cannot want to be pregnant and call their fetus a clump of cells. But it really all comes down to bodily autonomy, which he doesn't talk about at all in this video, strangely enough. But it's really very simple. No one has the right to use your body without consent. That includes a fetus. No one has the right to demand you give blood or donate an organ, even to your family member, even to your own child, even after death, when you're definitely not using them anymore. Even if you are the reason someone needs a blood or organ donation, no one can force you to give blood or donate an organ. But when it comes to pregnancy, all that is thrown out the window for some reason.
It is concerning to people how you can have a woman, you know, 7 months, 6 months, whatever it may be, choose to get an abortion, get rid of the baby. But if that same mother, 6 or 7 months, has a premature birth, gives birth, and then kills that baby when they get home from the hospital, the mom's going to jail. What's the difference between the two? That's the confusing part for a lot of people in terms of, you know, pro-life, pro-choice, and their stance on abortion. Everything's confusing to me.
Sounds like an Amir problem. But again, it's really very simple. Abortion is a solution to pregnancy, adoption is a solution to parenthood. And I am honestly concerned that Amir doesn't understand that. Well, I would be concerned if I thought he was being genuine. Judging from the tone of his video though, I think he's pretending to be confused about homicide definitions and the difference between abortion and infanticide. And like, you don't have to play games, Amir. If you're pro-birth, own it. Don't do this I'm confused thing. It's weird and makes you seem not very bright. And on that note, Amir is confused some more, and then he segues into his ad read where he runs interference for abortion abolitionists by suggesting they're actually not focusing on women, despite the headline literally reading, "Anti-abortion faction wants women who have abortions to face criminal charges." But you know, they're concerned about the baby. And you know,
playing devil's advocate real quick for the pro-life movement, they're concerned about the baby.
Except they aren't. They're concerned about making abortion illegal. If it was actually about babies, or life in general, they would be advocating for things that improve living standards instead of just focusing on abortion. Moving on, Amir also has concerns about IVF because you have fertilized eggs just sitting in freezers, there's some being thrown away, it gets real complicated real fast, and does he really believe a fertilized egg is the same thing as, well, himself? Me? Everyone watching this? Anyway. Amir also quibbles over a TikTok of a woman with her daughter saying, "I kept her because pro-choice means I choose," and yes, I would rather my mother choose to continue her pregnancy with me than have no other option. And I do have thoughts about people who think otherwise. But anyway, please enjoy this clip show.
You can just be willy-nilly out here just getting abortions. It seems as it's more of the people who, the elective abortion, that just get it willy-nilly, have multiple, they don't even care. It's clear this person got an abortion so they could finish college and go through school and not have their life completely affected and uprooted. It's these cases that I'm a little more on the fence about. They're a little more tricky because it's like, just wear protection. And I know it's weird coming from like a gay dude who doesn't have to worry about protection and having a baby, but like, that's a responsibility you take by just being a woman by default. The world's not fair. I'm sorry. Men need protection too, but as a woman, like, I feel like you should be taking extra precaution over your own body if you're in a position or you're not ready to accept the consequences of what would happen if you do have a baby. Because getting an abortion just to finish school, it's a little much to me, because I respect a 12-year-old getting an abortion more than this grown woman who wants to finish college. Again, I grew up very pro-choice. I was like, whatever, let the woman do whatever they want with their body, her choice. Until I realized it's not her body that people are talking about. Yes, this body's inside of her body and it's one person that's pregnant, I get it, but it's that baby. That's the body people are concerned about. And when I learned that, and that really processed for me as an adult, I'm like, oh, that is interesting. That does make me, pump the brakes a little bit and look at this from a different lens, and pushes me more towards the side of, a pro-life. Because even in the times where I'm damn like, okay, yeah, she should get an abortion, I'm still like, ugh. Cause like, what is an abortion, you guys? Class, we already know what it is. It's very, this topic, you guys. Like, we're in this country, we're fighting tooth and nail to make sure that everybody has the right, whenever they want, however many they want, to just kill the baby. I'm not even be dramatic, but it's what an abortion is. You're aborting a life, you're killing a baby. So I'm not trying to be some crazy like pro-lifer, right-winger just talking about, oh, they're killing babies. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. What is it? We all can agree, put our have our baseline of definitions. Abortion is aborting a baby in the womb, which is killing the baby. That's what it is.
Yeah, we can't actually agree on that. And I do find it interesting that Amir says there are times when he thinks someone should have an abortion. Sounds like someone is a little too interested in other people's lives. Or he's trying to censor us so much he actually stands nowhere. But regardless, let's go with some facts. A baby is not a fetus, or an embryo or zygote. The latter three are reliant on the pregnant person for survival, and as such, the person who is pregnant gets to decide if they want to be pregnant or not. Pregnancy isn't a few months of discomfort, you give birth, and then you go on your way. Pregnancy has side effects, some of which can be lifelong, and it can be fatal. And, notably, the US has the worst maternal mortality of high-income nations. And on that note, abortion bans actually don't mean more happy, healthy babies. Pregnant women living in US states with abortion bans are 2 times as likely to die than those in states where abortion care is legal and accessible. Infant mortality has increased. Women are being arrested for having miscarriages. The abortion rate rose after Dobbs. So, where is the pro-life part? People would have much less of a problem with them if they actually did things to improve life. I'm a broken record, but comprehensive sex ed, free birth control, universal health care, higher wages, parental leave, improving maternal and infant mortality. But nah, let's focus on making abortion a crime. I have to say, my opinion of Amir doesn't improve the more I see of his content. I also have to say, I really wasn't looking forward to this video. I just can't stand disingenuousness, especially when it's disguised as concern and, the moral policing. I'm okay with this but not that. I can respect this but not that, especially when the person speaking will never be in that situation. Anyway, that is why you're seeing this video in October instead of August like originally planned. But it's done. Thank goodness. Oh, and did you clock the incredibly stupid thing he said? It was that people are getting abortions willy-nilly. Though, come to think of it, that he can't distinguish between an abortion, which is a medical procedure, and a drunk driver, that was also incredibly stupid. Actually, his whole video. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.